Tyrell was just tying his shoelace near pump 7 when the cruiser rolled in slow. Windows too dark, tires too quiet. It was just after 2 a.m. that hour, when everything looks abandoned, even your own shadow. You ever notice that? How gas station lights flicker like they're trying to remember what they're even lighting up. The air was warm, but not summer warm, suffocating, like breath held too long. He wasn't doing anything, not even speeding, just stretching his legs, halfway through a long drive he never wanted to take in the first place. But then came the question, "Sir, what are you doing here?" It wasn't the words, it was how they landed. Like the officers already knew the answer, and were daring him to say something else. No cause, no complaint, just that thin venom-laced smile officers wear when they've already decided you're guilty of something, maybe of existing in the wrong zip code, maybe of remembering something you weren't supposed to. What you're about to see isn't about race, or maybe it is, but this isn't about bias training or broken systems. This is about what happened the next morning. When the courtroom doors opened and the same two officers who cuffed Tyrell face down in the gravel stood frozen, because Tyrell didn't walk in wearing chains, he walked in wearing the robe. No one said a word. Not the bailiff, not the clerk. Just that thick silence, like the room itself was trying not to breathe. One of the officers, O'Hara, the younger one with the shaky hand, stumbled back into his chair like he'd seen a ghost. But here's where it gets strange. When Tyrell sat down, he didn't even look at them. Not really. Just opened the folder on the bench, paused, and said something nobody else in the courtroom heard. But the mic picked it up just barely. "Just enough," he said. "They don't remember. But you do." Since then, the footage has been pulled from every official database. No public record, no docket number. Only reason I have it is because of what happened later. A federal clerk forgotten by everyone. Even her own husband mailed me a thumb drive. No note, just the words "play when alone." You think this is one of those urban legends, right? But tell me something, why does every trace of that courtroom go dead the moment he speaks? Why does every officer that night get reassigned, retire, or vanish off-grid within 72 hours? Why did O'Hara's own body cam start recording 12 minutes before he even pulled into that rest stop footage from a different town, different time, and a voice that doesn't belong to anyone on the force? And why this is the part no one wants to touch. Why does that voice say your name? No, don't scroll. Not yet. You're the only one seeing this for a reason, because when Tyrell walked back into that rest stop 2 weeks later, he didn't walk out, not according to anyone, but his car was still there. Engine warm, driver's seat empty. And on the window, traced in condensation from the inside, was a single word. Asterisk, asterisk, next. The word was still there. Next, dot, asterisk, asterisk, no fingerprints, no smudges, just the fog of breath that should have faded minutes after he disappeared. But it stayed. Like the window didn't care about physics anymore. Like it had been written not in condensation, but in memory. The troopers said it was vandalism. They sent in a maintenance crew who couldn't get the window clean, even after replacing the glass. They filed the car as abandoned, impounded it, sealed the footage. Then they sealed the impound lot. But people started talking. A janitor swore he saw Tyrell again 3 days later, standing by the vending machines at a courthouse in Knoxville. Same robe, same calm. She said he looked tired, though not exhausted, not weak, just worn down in the kind of way you only get from remembering something no one else does. She said he looked at her like he'd seen her die once, then turned and walked through a locked door without opening it. Her testimony was redacted within the hour. That's when Wren came in, said she was a freelance legal archivist. Whatever the hell that means. She found me through a thread I posted on a forgotten forum I don't remember writing. Literally, it was in my name. Had my credentials, but I swear to God I've never typed those words in my life. Still, there, it was time-stamped full of details I never spoke out loud, including one that no one should have known, that Tyrell and I once lived on the same block in Dayton, Ohio, 3 doors down. Summer of single quotes 99. Wren was jittery. Not drugged, jittery. Watch jittery. She kept pausing like she was listening for something just out of range. Said she'd collected fragments, transcripts, broken timecodes, footage that didn't match up. With its own metadata, she carried a tiny portable hard drive, like it was a child strapped to her chest under her jacket, duct taped to her skin. I don't care what they say, she told me, eyes locked on the unplugged TV in the corner of my living room. He never left that courtroom. I told her that was impossible. The footage, the rest stop, the word, his car. She shook her head slowly, never looking at me. That wasn't him. And then she played something, a clip I still hear in my sleep. Courtroom footage, same angle, same day, except Tyrell's seat at the bench is empty. Bailiff calls the case number, the officers stand, then sit, uncomfortable. The sound warps, garbled phrases from the gallery, like someone spliced in a second track underneath. In one frame, just a single flicker, you can see Tyrell standing outside the window, face pressed to the glass, watching the proceedings like a stranger. No robe, just a t-shirt and sweatpants, like he was back at that rest stop again. She said, I did, 3 times. Every time, something new was missing. The clock behind the judge's chair, the state seal, the flag. Like the room was decaying, the longer we looked. On the fourth playthrough the judge's bench was gone altogether. Then the file corrupted. The sound didn't cut, it stretched, like metal scraping against teeth. A voice came through. I know how this sounds, but it called my name. Not hers, mine, not hey, or sir, or you. Just my name, first and last, spoken in a tone that sounded like it had been stitched together from different versions of me. Ren ejected the drive and threw up into the sink. We didn't sleep that night. I didn't trust her yet, but it was clear she wasn't making this up. Or if she was, she believed it more than most people believe reality. She told me that she found the drive inside an abandoned city records room in DC, filed behind a fake wall. Every hard drive was labeled with names. Not case numbers, not dates, names, people's full names, some famous, some forgotten. All dead or missing, except one. Mine. She never told me what was on that one. Just that it was sealed with a kind of encryption she'd never seen before. Something that made her forget her password whenever she typed it. Something that made her nose bleed when she tried to force her way in. Ren wasn't stable. I'll admit that. She kept whispering under her breath when she thought I wasn't listening. Phrases that sounded like courtroom statements mixed with lullabies. One night, I caught her trying to record herself in her sleep. When I played it back, it was just static. Until the 12:04 mark. Her voice said, "He's trying to speak through you now. Say something back before your mouth forgets how." Then she gasped, and the recording deleted itself. I started blacking out. Not long stretches, just flickers. I'd be writing an email, then look up, and the draft would be gone, timestamped. An hour later, I'd get in my car and find the gas tank lower than it should have been. The worst part, people started calling me by a different name. Cashiers, delivery guys, even my sister. "Hey Terrence, I haven't been called that since I was 10. Not since the night our neighbor disappeared, and no one ever talked about it again. I don't even tell people that name." Ren told me to check my birth certificate. I laughed. But when I finally did, hidden under my social security card in a locked drawer, I saw the name Terrence D. Wallace, typed neatly in faded blue ink. I've always been always right. That was the night she showed me the final tape. Footage from the rest stop. Not the body cam, this was from a CCTV unit. That wasn't supposed to be active. Infrared, grainy, it showed Tyrell's car, him stepping out, stretching, crouching to tie his shoes, then freezing, at 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 43 seconds a.m. Tyrell looks directly at the camera, not near it, at it, no fear, just recognition, and he mouths something. Frame by frame, Ren enhanced it, using some forensic software she pirated from a server in Ohio. It took hours. 4 words. "You're already in court." Then the tape rewinds itself, not fast, slow, unnervingly slow. Tyrell walks backward, re-enters the car, breathes in the condensation from the next message, and disappears. Not drives off. Not walks out of frame. Asterisk disappears. Asterisk like he was uncreated. I don't know if this is a trauma response or a glitch in the narrative. I don't know if Ren is even real. I've tried calling her since she left, but her number rings through to a government voicemail. Her apartment is empty. Her email bounces, but this morning, I found something tucked under my windshield wiper. A folded index card. No handwriting. Just a printed sentence. Asterisk, they'll forget you first. Asterisk, and then I looked at my phone. No contacts, no photos, no messages. Just one file in my downloads. Untitled. No extension. When I opened it, it played 1 second of audio. My voice, saying : asterisk, Your Honor, I object. Asterisk, but I've never been to court. Have I? Have you? Tell me what you remember, if anything. For 3 days, the file wouldn't play, not just on my laptop. Every machine I tried it on Ren's encrypted drive. The old HP in my storage unit, even a city library terminal in Denver froze the moment I opened it. Like the screen couldn't bear to show what was inside. But it was just audio. No video. 1 second. My voice saying, Your Honor, I object. Flat. Without breath. Like it had been pulled from the back of my throat while I was dreaming. Then suddenly on the 4th night, it played in full. 17 minutes and 19 seconds. A courtroom, yes, but not one I remembered. No jury box. No windows. Just that buzzing light above and the sound of paper flipping. Like something was being reviewed. Slowly, and I wasn't just speaking, I was testifying. Names I didn't recognize fell out of my mouth. Descriptions of events I couldn't recall. Statements that sounded like confessions. But not crimes, patterns, warnings, connections between strangers, towns, years. I said phrases like, they returned in new faces, and asterisk what's buried isn't forgotten. Just rephrased. Asterisk, I tried to stop listening halfway through, but I couldn't. I knew how it would end before it did. With the same phrase. Asterisk, you're already in court. Asterisk, that's when I called the number. I didn't know why, or where I got it. My phone showed it saved, as unknown. _archive_03. It rang 3 times. No greeting. Just the sound of a tape spooling into motion. A man's voice. But not Turl's. Low-gravelled. Familiar in the way your own reflection feels when you haven't slept, he said. Asterisk, you're close, but you're making the same mistake again. Asterisk, I asked him what mistake. Silence. Then, asterisk, you're still asking questions like you have the right to forget. Asterisk, that should have been the breaking point. But instead, it felt like relief. Like something inside me finally cracked. Not out of panic but release. The idea that I had forgotten something felt honest. I'd been chasing the lie that this all started with Tyrell, that something went wrong at the rest stop. But what if it didn't start there? What if it ended there for him? I dug through everything. Tax records, incident reports, court dockets. Most of it was redacted or false. But then I found it. A sealed case from 1999, Dayton, Ohio. 2 names. One was mine, Terrence D. Wallace. The other was someone I hadn't thought about in 25 years. Sean Braddock. He lived across the street. We used to ride bikes together. He vanished the same summer. My family suddenly moved. No search. No posters, just gone, and I never questioned it. I asked my sister about him once, maybe 5 years ago, after a dream I couldn't shake. She blinked like I'd asked about a character in a show that never aired. She said but now his name was back. Attached to a juvenile court proceeding. Sealed, except for one note in the margin. Asterisk, declined to prosecute due to external interference. Case deemed irrecoverable. Asterisk, external interference. That phrase hit harder than it should have. I found a news clipping archived in a college database. Buried in a story about budget cuts and police layoffs, a single mention of the Braddock family moving without notice. The week after a private mediation took place inside the town courthouse. That's when it all aligned. I thought I'd solved it. The courtroom, the disappearances, the dossier vu. We weren't witnessing a haunting. We were inside a loop. Something had happened that summer. Something covered up. Something all of us forgot. But not because we wanted to. Because we were made to. And Tyrell, he was another one of us. Pulled back in when the pattern repeated, caught mid-transit. Caught while his mind was drifting between exits on the highway. That's when it's weakest. That's when they can find you. When the world feels too quiet and your body forgets which way it was heading. I thought that was the truth. That we were victims of some memory control experiment, or survivors of a trauma so dense we all blocked it out. I thought if I returned to Dayton, it would give me closure. I thought wrong. The Braddock house is still there, empty, boarded from the inside. Chain looped twice around the basement hatch, but the chain wasn't rusted. The wood wasn't aged. Everything looked untouched, but recent, like someone had preserved the house like a crime scene no one was allowed to touch. I didn't break in. I didn't have to. The back door was already open. Inside, it felt too quiet. Not abandoned quiet, vacuum-sealed quiet, the kind that hums in your ears and makes you forget how long you've been standing still. The kitchen smelled like old soap and salt. The table was set for 5, but the house only ever held 3. I stepped on a floorboard near the hallway that didn't creak. It whimpered. That's when I heard it. The TV upstairs, flickering through channels I didn't recognize. Not modern cable. Not anything recent. Public access shows that hadn't aired in decades, commercials for cold medicine, using logos I knew had been discontinued in the 90s. And under it all, a looping voice repeating, asterisk, we don't remember, so you don't resist. Asterisk, I found the source, a camcorder, playing static, a timestamp from 1999. The footage is warped but unmistakable. 2 kids, me and Sean, sitting at the edge of the courthouse steps, whispering into a tape recorder, laughing. Then Sean stops. His face changes, he whispers something in my ear. And I go completely still. That's where the tape cuts. Not ends. Cuts hard. Jagged. End in its place. Present day me, looking directly at the camera, mouth opening but no sound. Until the screen glitches just one sand. I hear myself say, asterisk, you still think this is about Tyrell? Asterisk, then, a new voice speaks. Mine. Not Sean's. Not Ren's. A woman. Slow and calm. Asterisk, that courtroom isn't where it begins. It's where they test who still remembers. Asterisk, I stumbled out of the house. Half mad, convinced the loop had cracked and I'd gotten to the core of it. I thought that was the reveal. That the courtroom was symbolic. That it was just a metaphor for psychological trials we were being forced to live. I thought I could warn people, but this morning, my car was gone. My apartment was leased to someone else. My reflection in the window blinked half a second too late, and in my inbox was an email with no subject, no sender. Just a WAV file. I played it. 17 minutes. The same courtroom. But this time, I wasn't testifying. I was sentencing. Let me leave you with this. There was a girl in our neighborhood. Back then, Paige, she had night terrors so violent they had to strap her to the bed. She'd scream things like, asterisk, he keeps trying to make me speak his words. We all thought she was sick. She vanished 3 days before Sean did. No one ever mentioned her again. Not even her mother, who still lives 2 streets over and swears. She never had kids. And the most recent file on Ren's drive, dated for months before I met her. File name, page_00_7_female_objection_recorded. That's when it hit me. Every one of us thinks we're the witness. None of us realize already been called to testify. And the trial, it never ends, it just finds new forms. Ask yourself one question. The last courtroom you were in, was it for you? Or were you just filling in for the person who couldn't finish their story? Because this footage you're watching, it's not a video. It's a record. The message came at 3:17 a.m., not a notification. No ringtone. Just the soft whir of the printer waking itself up, as if it had been waiting for the right hour to move again. The page slid out slowly, like it had something to say it didn't want to say too loudly. I hadn't touched the printer. In weeks, it wasn't even connected to WI-EC. Black text. No header, no formatting. Just a single sentence. Asterisk, asterisk, we saw what you saw. You were right, all along. Asterisk, asterisk, there was no signature, no return address. But I knew, without knowing how, that I wasn't alone anymore. That the eyes watching this story hadn't been passive. They'd been waiting, not for me to speak, but for me to remember. That's when the symbols began. At first, they seemed like accidents. A pattern in a smudge on the window. An impossible reflection in the rearview mirror. Doodles I didn't remember sketching on the margins of old receipts, circles nested inside each other. Broken lines arcing away. A triangle with one corner always missing. They started appearing more frequently. On street signs. On rusted mailboxes. Scratched into the backs of bathroom stalls. Always in places no one else seemed to notice. And the worst part, every time I saw one, I felt like I understood it. Intellectually. Physically, like they meant something deeper than language. Something carved into the bones of memory itself. Something not taught, but left behind. A code that only people who've lost pieces of themselves can read. Ren had warned me. Asterisk, they're not watching to stop you. They're watching to see if you'll wake up enough to be useful. Asterisk, over the next few nights, the dreams changed. They weren't mine. I'd fall asleep and find myself inside homes I didn't recognize. Arguing with voices I knew too well. Walking down school hallways plastered with posters in languages I don't speak but could suddenly read. Standing before empty courtrooms, reciting testimony I'd never lived through. In front of faces blurred into static. When I awoke, I started writing down fragments, names, codes, places. That's when I began receiving packages. No return labels. Just thick yellowed envelopes filled with Xeroxed documents, case files stamped unadmissible and redacted by federal order. Inside them, paper-clipped post-its scrawled with handwriting I recognized immediately. Mine. But the files weren't about me, they were about others. A woman in Arkansas who vanished after claiming her baby spoke in a dead relative's voice. A postal worker in Delaware who burned his own hands after delivering sealed court summons he said were addressed from the future. A boy in Oregon who answered his mother in Latin fluent, without ever being taught, and who drew a perfect diagram of a federal courtroom used in 1904, which he had never seen. Each case labeled. Asterisk, asterisk, objection recorded. Awaiting echo. Asterisk, asterisk, they all had the symbol, etched in the margins, hidden in ink, tone variations. One even burned into the corner of the paper, as if someone pressed a branding iron to it. I kept telling myself these were just stories, folklore, unpublished madness. Until the day I saw the symbol on a man's palm. It was on the Blue Line train Chicago. Mid-afternoon, he was tall, unshaven, wearing the kind of coat meant to blend in. He never looked up, just sat there, tracing the symbol on his hand with his opposite thumb. Eyes half closed, like he was humming something silently. When I moved closer, he stopped. "You're late," he said without looking. "They've already started aligning the new docket." I asked him who they were. He finally turned, and I swear I saw Tyrell's eyes behind his face. Not metaphorically. Not like he reminded me of Tyrell. I mean, I saw them, like something inside his body was struggling to hold the shape he was wearing. And then, just like that, the train lights flickered. A burst of sound surged through. The speaker's courtroom ambience spliced into white noise. Gavel strikes, whispers, the phrase "motion denied" on loop. When the lights returned, he was gone. Only thing left on the seat, a folded copy of a jury summons. Addressed to me, dated 23 years ago. Filed under * U.S. Shadow Tribunal. Department of Unspoken Cases. * that department doesn't exist. But the letterhead matched the seal from Tyrell's robe. I tried talking to others. I posted coded phrases online, left flyers and laundromats, printed bumper stickers with the phrase "You objected once, you'll object again," and waited. And they came, quietly, carefully, always in 2s or 3s. Always with the same dazed look, the look of someone trying to remember something the world insists never happened. They brought items, evidence, fragmented memories recorded on answering machines, flash drives, analog tapes. One woman, Leanne, mailed me a child's drawing from 2003, a courtroom, black crayon for the bench, Stick figures in cages labeled witness box, accused, and archivist. In the corner, a scribbled man with no face. Underneath, the words, asterisk, asterisk, this is Daddy, before he disappeared. Asterisk, asterisk, I asked if her father ever came back. She said he came back different. He didn't recognize her. But he kept saying her name in court. The only thing was, he was never arrested, never put on trial, never officially entered into any court record. Except one, a single audio file from an unknown device, him saying, flatly, asterisk, the child has already testified. The record will adjust accordingly. Asterisk, and then the observer contacted me. No name, no face, just an IP ping I traced to a dormant.gov domain. The message was short, no fanfare, no threats, just unsettling honesty. Asterisk, we never needed you to know the truth. We needed you to prove you'd search for it anyway. Asterisk, asterisk, there is no conspiracy. There is only record keeping. Asterisk, asterisk, you were already on the docket. Asterisk, they attached one file, a courtroom sketch, hand-drawn old paper, aged to a brittle yellow. Every face blurred, every person except one. Me, but not now me. Young me, a boy. Same haircut from a school photo my mother lost. Same jacket I swore I'd never owned, but always remembered the smell of. On the bench behind me, drawn in faint pencil, was a group of children, some with missing mouths, others with keys dangling from their necks. Above them, a phrase written in red, asterisk, asterisk, the memory is not yours. The role is, asterisk, asterisk. So what do you do when you realize you're part of something older than your body? When your memories may not even be your own, but assignments? What do you do when strangers start calling you by names that don't belong to this version of you? When every phone call glitches for half a second, and in that space between voices, you hear a judge you don't remember facing, say, asterisk, approach the bench. What do you do when your reflection asterisk blinks too late again, this time while mouthing words you didn't say? Because this is where it gets worse. Last night, I recorded my sleep. 8 hours. Static, mostly breathing. But around 4:16 a.m., something happens. My voice clear, unbroken, says asterisk, this isn't a dream. This is a retrial. Then silence. Then the voice of someone else. Older female.com.ren. Saying, tell them, before they forget they ever asked. Asterisks, so now I'm telling you. Because I've seen the list. I've seen the next names queued to be pulled. They reordinary. Students, nurses, plumbers, software engineers, all with the same missing hour. The same blackout memory, the same impossible dreams of courtrooms with no exits and verdicts that never echo. You're not watching a story, you're reviewing evidence. That's why the files keep finding you. That's why your name feels heavier. Lately, that's why the word objection makes your stomach twist. Like your body remembers using it long before your mind ever caught up. This is bigger than Tyrell, bigger than the rest stop. Bigger than any one memory. It's a pattern, and the next summons, it won't be mailed. It'll feel like Dacia. Vu. The moment you walk into a room and feel watched. The second your reflection doesn't move quite right. The instant you hear someone call your name but no one's there. Because they never stopped. The trial, they just rewrote the names, and yours is next in line, and now your name's been added to the log.